Good evening. Earlier this week, the wrestling world lost the great Ole Anderson of the Four Horsemen. 2 days later, the wrestling world is mourning yet another loss. Tonight, we pay our respects and we celebrate the life of Michael Jones, best known to wrestling fans as the bodyguard Virgil in WWF/E, and also as Vincent in WCW as a member of the NWO. Virgil passed away yesterday at the age of 61. Hello and good evening, friends, and welcome to this special Thursday night edition of Wednesday Night Madness. I am your host. I am your guest host. I am your host, Anthony Florio. I am sitting in tonight for good old MF Michael Fletcher. Unfortunately, he's been under the weather the last couple of days, and before we start, we would like to take this moment to wish MF well. These shows are not the same without him, and we hope and pray for a speedy recovery. And we are hopeful of having him back with us tomorrow night for a very special edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, which I will get more into the details of that at the end of tonight's show. But in the meantime, I'm joined here by the Phenom Michael Bullock. And before we get into our usual Wednesday Night Madness routine, which would be NXT and AEW Dynamite, we're going to take a few minutes and we're going to pay our respects to Virgil, Michael Jones, who passed away yesterday. He was 61 years old. And of course, as we all know, he was very well known. He was mostly known and best known for being the bodyguard Virgil for the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. And outside of that, the next best thing he was known for was when he was known as Vincent, when he was a member of the New World Order, the NWO, back in WCW. Cause of death has not been made public, but on April 16th of 2022, he revealed that he had previously suffered 2 strokes and had been diagnosed with dementia. And a month later, he said he was diagnosed with stage 2 colon cancer. So over the last almost 2 years, this man was battling various health issues, and our thoughts and our prayers are with his family, his friends, and all of the wrestlers who were fortunate enough to work with him. Small resume here. He actually did have some success in wrestling. In the AWA, he was a one-time AWA International Heavyweight Champion and was also a co-holder of the AWA Southern Tag Team Championship with another late Hall of Famer, Soul Man Rocky Johnson. In New Jack City Wrestling, he was the NJCW Heavyweight Champion. In the PWI 500 in 1992, he was ranked number 74 of the top 500 singles wrestlers in the PWI 500 in 1992. That's Pro Wrestling Illustrated. And in the PWI years in 2003, he was ranked number 483 of the top 500 singles wrestlers in that legendary PWI years issue of 2003. United States Wrestling League, he was the USWL Intercontinental Champion on one occasion. Of course, what all of us pretty much remember, his biggest championship win, of course, as in the World Wrestling Federation, SummerSlam 1991, when he defeated the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, for the $1 Million Championship. And in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, was awarded Best Gimmick in 1996 as part of the NWO, and was also a part of the feud of the year award in 1996, a member with the New World Order in the feud versus WCW. So that's it. I mean, other than that, he didn't do really much anything else. But nonetheless, a death is never easy to get into. I mean, we had gone such a long time without having to get into deaths, but unfortunately, we've lost two in a span of 3 days. I mean, this is the worst we've had it when it comes to deaths, without question. In the last 6 months, we all remember 6 months ago when, in a very short span, we lost the likes of Terry Funk, and then, of course, the saddest of them all, that being the sudden passing of Bray Wyatt at only 36 years of age. Way too young for anyone to pass away. But nonetheless, we here at Talking Wrestling TXN, on behalf of all of us here, on behalf of myself, Bullock, and MF, and of course, our First Lady Dee Dee Woodson, we would like to take this time to extend our thoughts and our prayers and our condolences to the family and friends and all the wrestlers who got to work with Virgil over the years, whether it was in WWF, E, or WCW, or any of those other promotions I just mentioned. And like I said, I personally will best remember him as Virgil, the bodyguard of the $1 Million Man, Teddy DiBiase, from 1987 up until the 1991 Royal Rumble, when Virgil turned on DiBiase, hitting him with that $1 Million Championship belt, and then which led to that match they had at WrestleMania 7, and then of course that match that we will all never forget, SummerSlam 1991, one of the greatest underdog victories of all time. And there've been a lot of great underdog victories, but that one was one of the first truly great underdog stories that we saw when Virgil became the $1 Million Champion at SummerSlam 1991. One of the many highlights of what I will honestly admit is my all-time favorite SummerSlam. And it's not the greatest. That's 2002, but 1991 is my personal all-time favorite SummerSlam for a myriad of reasons. Madison Square Garden, Gorilla, and Bobby, and a bonus with Roddy Piper on commentary. The three of them were a riot all night long. And of course, my man Bret Hart winning the Intercontinental Championship, the Macho Man, Miss Elizabeth Wedding, LOD winning the tag titles. But another one of those moments that I truly will never forget was when Virgil became the $1 Million Champion, and what was a very good match, hands down his best match, easily. And then, of course, the other thing that I will also remember him for was when he was known as Vincent, as a henchman for the NWO, particularly in 96 and 97. Hanging out where he was reunited with the $1 Million Man, Teddy DiBiase, and of course Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and all those other guys in there. But those are the two best things that I will best remember this man for. And but nonetheless, thoughts and prayers and condolences to the family and friends and all the wrestlers who worked with him. Various superstars from various promotions have paid their respects. Names such as Jake the Snake Roberts, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, the Honky Tonk Man, Matt Hardy, Frankie Kazarian from TNA, just to name a few. But a lot of tributes have come in for this man, and for the longest time, we didn't really hear. We honestly didn't hear anything. We hadn't heard anything from the $1 Million Man, Teddy DiBiase, but that was until a few hours ago when Teddy DiBiase finally had something to say about it. I was waiting to hear from Teddy DiBiase, and of course, he was paired with Virgil during their WWE career together, and he shared some thoughts on the man's WWE career following his passing. and he spoke about him on the Busted Open radio show, and he said, and I quote, "The way that Vince McMahon laid it out was the biggest point. He made Virgil understand what his job was, and he did it very well. It wasn't that he did a whole lot, but he had presence and the fact that he was this great, big, muscled up guy." And he also went on to say, the reality is Virgil was a great guy, but he wasn't really a great wrestler. If he'd have had a little more wrestling talent, we could have got a little more out of it. But what we got out of it was great. And that's what DiBiase said. But nonetheless, that's all I have for him. So with that being said, before I give it to Michael Bullock, we got to do it like we always do it. So to Virgil, Michael Jones, we simply, as we always say, thank you for the memories, thank you for the inspiration, but most of all, thank you for Virgil and for Vincent. Rest in peace, good sir. You will be missed. 61 years old. So, not much more to say here. Michael Bullock, Phenom, come on in. Hardest week we've had in wrestling as it pertains to death in 6 months. You remember back in August we lost Terry Funk and of course Bray Wyatt, and now here, as we are literally now officially now on the road to WrestleMania 40. Not a great way to start that. I mean, Monday we lose Ole Anderson, and then yesterday losing Virgil. Very tough week.
Yeah, you could definitely say this has definitely been a tough week. I mean, a tough start on the road to WrestleMania with the first, like you said, the passing of Ole Anderson, and now Michael Jones, also known as Virgil. I mean, it doesn't get any tougher than that. But yeah, I mean, I'll never forget his time in WWE as Virgil, obviously as the bodyguard for the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. He would always get involved in some of the matches that he was in, and then of course he finally had enough of them, and that's when he broke free from him, and it was Roddy Piper who finally told him to stand up to himself and to Ted DiBiase, and that's what led to the match they had at WrestleMania 7. And then of course they fought again at SummerSlam, and that's when Virgil got his moment and won the $1 million belt. I mean, he had somewhat of a good singles career, and then of course went to WCW. So yeah, I mean, he was a great competitor, and yeah, you pretty much said everything on it. So, like you said, on behalf of all of us here at Talking Wrestling TXN, we send our thoughts, our prayers, and condolences to the family and friends of Michael Jones. And hey, you guys should be proud of this guy for what he did. He may not be the big name star that he was, but he certainly gave it his all in the ring, and that's what we like about him. So, and of course, his intensity is what we loved about him too. So, yeah, there's really nothing more for me to say. You pretty much said everything, Anthony. So, that being said, let's get on to first our review of NXT.
Yes, never easy to move on from anything like that, but the show must go on, as they always say. So, all right. As the month wraps up for WWE, NXT promised one last big show with its show this past Tuesday night. Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov came face to face for the first time since Carmelo Hayes' heinous attacks on Trick Williams and the Mad Dragon in the same week. What did they have to say, and who would strike next? Noam Dar would put his Heritage Cup on the line against a member of the No Quarter Catch crew, but he had no idea who would step up. Would it be Drew Gulak or Charlie Dempsey take charge, or would Damon Kemp or Miles Bourne make a move? Kiana James looked to make an example out of Kalani Jordan, while Roxanne Perez faced Metaphor's Jakara Jackson. Who would emerge victorious and earn a future NXT Women's Championship match? Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson made their NXT in-ring debut against Malik Blade and Idris Anafi, and Lexis King looked to embarrass Von Wagner again. This week's NXT had a chance to ramp up the product on the road to stand and deliver. So, first thing was first. Carmelo Hayes came out. Ilya Dragunov came out, and Carmelo Hayes. Nothing came out of that. So we're just gonna bypass that and let it be known that there were quite a few cutouts on this show here tonight. Quite a few. But then again, what else is new, right? It's NXT we're talking about, for goodness sakes. Well, the first bit of good news: Booker T. Booker T back on commentary after being out for a few weeks. He had to have a procedure done, but it was great to have the Bookman back. And first match of the evening was Kalani Jordan squaring off against Kiana James, who had Izzy Dame in her corner. Winner of the match, 8 minutes and 14 seconds. It was Kiana James. Well, this is one of the few matches we're going to get into here. 2.5, 2 3/4 of a star. There were some miscues in this match, especially down the stretch. While they avoided serious botches, it slowed the action and stopped the two from reaching top gear. This is a contest to revisit, though, as they are among NXT's best female in-ring workers. It just didn't work this time around. James was always going to win, as Jordan has continued to fight alone, despite having established friends in the back. And moreover, the businesswoman is more likely to earn a title shot possibly down the line. Vic Joseph welcomed back Booker T to commentary. There was an instant improvement in the opener in terms of energy and insight. Izzy Dame blocked a dive by Jordan, so she adjusted and went over the top rope onto both James and Dame. Jordan tried a few handspring maneuvers in a row that looked clunky. She needs to figure out that part of her offense. And that's pretty much it there. So this was 2.5 to 2 3/4 of a star. So not much more to say. Michael Bullock, your thoughts as Kiana James defeats Kalani Jordan, 8 minutes and 14 seconds.
Yeah, I can only give this 2 1/4 stars because there was some interference from Izzy Dame. I mean, obviously, I guess Kiana James, she proved one thing, that she couldn't beat Kalani Jordan on her own, so she needed the help of Izzy Dame too. But basically, until Kalani Jordan can learn how to fight off or at least have some help, I'm sorry to say this, Florio, I can't take her seriously. I know she's got potential, but until she can really handle the situation or have help, I can't take her seriously. So, just my honest opinion. So, 2 1/4 stars. Let's move on, Florio.
All right, Bullock, keep your mic on as we get into our next matchup here. We had the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, squaring off against Idris Anafe and Malik Blade. And the Good Brothers win the match. Good Brothers win the match, 5 minutes and 24 seconds. Fun little sprint, wouldn't you say, Bullock?
Yeah, it was a fun little sprint. I'll give this about maybe another 2 1/4 on this one. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with what the Good Brothers' role will be in NXT. Could they be the next to get a future shot at the NXT tag team titles? So we'll have to wait and see on it. So there's really nothing more for me to say. So it's yours.
Yeah, 2.5 for me. Only one team could win this, but this was one of the most interesting matches Gallows and Anderson have had since they returned to WWE. Their run has been mostly forgettable, but this was a solid match. The veterans fit better in NXT and let the fresh stars shine. Blade and Anafe showed off, looking like a top tag team against the main roster duo. It could have been longer, but the two did the heavy lifting in this match. It's a shame that the division is moving past Blade and Anafe, but it is staying hot with an influx of main roster teams in the mix. and nothing, no extra observations on that. So 2.5 for that one. Next up, it was Roxanne Perez squaring off against the Metaphors Jakara Jackson. Lash Legend, of course, in Jakara's corner. Roxanne Perez wins the match, 7 minutes and 9 seconds. Another 2.5. This was the first look at Jakara Jackson as a singles performer, and she was great. Roxanne Perez guided her through a physical and heated encounter that built to the Prodigy, wiping out her opponent when it mattered. Jackson was never beating Roxanne Perez, who remains the most interesting challenger for Lyra Valkyria at Stand and Deliver. But it was good to see what she could do. Hopefully, Valkyria will address the elephant in the room sooner than later. The Gold brand should start pushing this feud forward, build heat that can match the NXT Championship scene. The Prodigy raged backstage about missing out on a title opportunity to Lash Legend. Jackson mocked her, setting up this match. Legend saved Jackson from the Pop Rocks, and the referee sent Lash Legend away. And that's really all I can say on that. So another 2.5-star match here. So not much more to say. Michael Bullock, Roxanne Perez defeating Jakara Jackson, 709.
Yeah, 2.5 stars for me. I mean, Roxanne Perez continues to prove to everyone, including to General Manager Abel, that she deserves the shot at Lyra Valkyria and the NXT Women's title. It's not a matter of if it's going to happen; it's just a matter of when. Well, it'll be made official because we know it's going to happen at Stand and Deliver, and I'm going to go on the record saying this: Roxanne Perez is going to dethrone Lyra Valkyria at Stand and Deliver and win back the title that she never lost. So, especially with this new attitude of hers, where she looks unhinged at times, and I think this is what she needs. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So let's move on, Florio.
All right. I know I said there were cutouts, and yes, we have one here. Next up, it was Dijak squaring off against Luca Crucifino. Dijak wins the match, 3 minutes and 29 seconds. We're not going to waste any time on this. Even on a night of fast matches, this felt especially quick. The two moved at an impressive pace, which was set by the rookie. Crucifino looked good, even if his actual offense was limited. Despite Dijak letting Crucifino do most of the work, he still looked strong in the win. He remains a dangerous opponent against anyone, and the Gacy story remains fascinating. That was about 1.5 for that, so I'm not going to waste much time on that. Then there was a promo segment. The NXT Women's Champion, Lyra Valkyria. But before I get into that, we have a big match for next week's Roadblock show. Dijak versus Gacy in an Asylum match. Whoa. Okay. So that ought to be interesting when we get to that. But now we'll get into the promo segment with the NXT Women's Champion, Lyra Valkyria. She calls out Tatum Paxley, and another big announcement on that same Roadblock show, Lyra Valkyria and Tatum Paxley are going to challenge the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. A women's tag team title match on NXT Roadblock next Tuesday night. How about that? So that's two big matches. I'm already looking forward to that show already. I'll tell you that right now. So there you go. More backstage stuff, and then we had Von Wagner squaring off against Lexis King. Von Wagner wins the match in 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Another cutout here. But let me get to the promo real quick. This was a chaotic series of quick segments. The Valkyrie and Paxley have a great dynamic. They haven't earned a title shot as a team, but they should be fun to watch against Asuka and Kairi Sane. And then Ridge Holland interrupting was not the way to endear him to the fans. He's also going to have trouble building hype next to a returning. But then he got taken out by a familiar face who is now back in NXT. You may best remember him as Ty Dillinger, the Perfect 10. He's not that guy anymore. It's the same AEW version of Shawn Spears. The Shawn Spears character is now in NXT. Not the Perfect 10 Ty Dillinger, but Shawn Spears. Whoa, business going to pick up here as he took out Ridge Holland. Now we'll get into the Von Wagner and Lexis King match. Von Wagner, like I said, won the match in 4:10. I'll tell you what, NXT chose an odd approach in using proverbs from various Asian philosophers to set up Shawn Spears' return. However, after an AEW reset, he should have more success in his second WWE run with a more dramatic presentation. So that's all I know. So when it comes, let me get back to the segments here quick. Valkyria promised a title shot to Shotzi whenever Shotzi returns, which won't be for a long time. Tatum Paxley wanted to say she proved her devotion, but changed her words to showing she was a woman of her word. While Shawn Spears went by the name Ty Dillinger in WWE the first time, Vic Joseph called him his independent name. He also used the chair right away, likely directly bringing over his chairman persona from AEW. Spears cut a strange promo in the parking lot about giving Holland the truth. WWE showed a video package for Asuka and Kairi Sane talking up their NXT history. Oba Femi demanded a new challenger from general manager Ava, who was considering options. And then Brooks Jensen confronted Oba Femi in the parking lot for a challenge. A lot of interesting stuff came out of that. Lexis King, Von Wagner. Von Wagner wins it in 4:10. Nothing to write home about on this one. King did the classic heel tactic against the big man, chopping him down at the leg. Wagner barely got any offense despite his size advantage, only winning by a roll-up. The main positive is that Wagner at least picked up a win for once. He did so at the expense of Lexis King, whose win-loss record in NXT is becoming dire. It was the right move, though, as the big man is the more interesting character at the moment. He just needs to figure out how to play the babyface without forgetting his size and strength advantage over most opponents. This was an absolute dud. Worst fight of the night. I'm not even going to waste any time on that. Then we had Gigi Dolan squaring off against Jada Parker. Jada Parker wins the match, 4 minutes and 31 seconds. This did not look good on paper, but Dolan worked a faster style than usual and meshed well with Parker. Ariana Grace's interference was a bizarre move that stopped the match cold in its final stretch and took away from the point of the encounter. Hopefully, Dolan and Parker can revisit this one down the stretch because they brought the best out of each other. Parker is slowly building momentum. If she continues to improve in the ring, her presentation could push her straight to the title scene. And Dolan and Parker asked Ava about their NXT future. Ava booked them in a match. Parker mocked Lyra Valkyria, Tatum Paxley, and Ariana Grace in the locker room just before her match. And OTM headed to the back to let Parker deal with her business alone. This showed how much confidence the group has in her. So nothing really to get into there. I'll give it 1 for the effort. All right, we're definitely going to get into this. NXT Heritage Cup on the line. Heritage Cup winner Noam Dar of the Metaphor with Oro Mensah as his corner man, squaring off against, from the No Quarter Catch crew, Charlie Dempsey gets the honor. In round 1, Charlie Dempsey picked up the win on Noam Dar. He pinned him in 1 minute and 47. Round 2 went the distance. And then round 3 went the distance. And then round number 4, Noam Dar evened the bout at one fall apiece. He won round 4 in 21 seconds. And then it went to the 5th round. And at 51 seconds of the 5th round, the winner of the match and new NXT Heritage Cup champion, Charlie Dempsey. Charlie Dempsey wins the NXT Heritage Cup. Michael Bullock, what about it? No doubt about it. This was hands down the fight of the night very easily. And number two, what a moment for Charlie Dempsey winning the NXT Heritage Cup. And you know, Papa William Regal's got to be loving this for his boy. What a moment.
Oh yeah, you know somewhere William Regal's definitely gotta love what he saw with Charlie Dempsey winning this. And yeah, this was definitely the fight of the night, hands down. I'll give this about 3.5. I'll give this 3.5 here. I mean, what an encounter this was, and yeah, Dempsey with a big time moment here, and yeah. So yeah, there's really nothing more for me to say. I mean, what a proud moment for not just for him, but for William Regal. So it's yours, Florio.
Absolutely. This started hot with the first round decision pushing Dar to work as the underdog as early as the second. However, a lack of heat slowed this to a crawl down the stretch. The finish was appropriate as Dar finally got a taste of his own medicine with the numbers game at ringside. It's just a shame the pacing was so uneven ahead of it. It was time for a change in the Heritage Cup scene. Charlie Dempsey is a great lead man with the title, but assumedly every member of No Quarter Catch Crew will defend over time. Maybe a Freebird rule or something. What is important is that the stables start looking dominant. They cannot become the generic heels who steal the win each time by helping each other. Dar was on edge backstage ahead of this match. While the Scottish Supernova got his win in round 4, it was actually the third round where he dominated, setting up the decision with a back elbow strike before the bell. 3.5 stars. No doubt about it. Fight of the night. And next week for Roadblock, you got Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker defending the NXT Tag Team Championship against Andre Chase and Duke Hudson of Chase U. We got a women's tag team title match, a WWE women's tag team title match. Asuka and Kairi Sane, the Kabuki Warriors, defending against Lyra Valkyria and Tatum Paxley. In addition to the Asylum match with Dijak and Joe Gacy. And then the main event segment of the evening. It was supposed to be Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov, but they got interrupted by, of all people, the Don of NXT, Tony D'Angelo. And Melo was looking confident until Tony D arrived, and Tony D wanted the NXT title shot and revealed that the contract was Tony D'Angelo versus Carmelo Hayes next week in a number 1 contenders match. The Mad Dragon agreed to the terms, but Melo was not happy. This was a nice swerve on expectations. If the plan is for Melo versus Trick Williams at Stand and Deliver on April 6th, which we all think it will be, the Don is a fresh challenger for Dragunov with fan support due to his steady work for NXT over the years. Even if Melo wins, this sets up D'Angelo as a future challenger, while explaining why Dragunov versus Melo has to wait for Stand and Deliver. NXT has shown time and again that the NXT Championship scene is the most important for the Gold brand and gets the best booked segments consistently. After D'Angelo arrived, Melo's security walked off, clearly paid off by the Don. Before signing, Hayes sent D'Angelo into Dragunov and then sent D'Angelo through the table. And that's really all there is to say there. So, very interesting segment here. By default, the segment of the night. So, not much more to say here. Michael Bullock, what do you make of all this in your NXT Championship picture here? Carmelo Hayes versus Tony D. And the winner gets Ilya Dragunov at Stand and Deliver. And I think we all know how this is going to play out.
Yeah, I mean, we were all thinking that this was going to be a contract signing for Roadblock with Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes, but the Don of NXT, Tony D'Angelo, threw all of us a curveball saying, no. I want to earn my way into it. And Carmelo Hayes, you're going to have to earn your way too, because Ava and I agreed to it. that this contract will now be Tony D'Angelo against Carmelo Hayes, and whoever wins will face Ilya Dragunov for the NXT title at Stand and Deliver. And Dragunov agreed to it, but Carmelo Hayes, you could just see he was not too happy about it, and basically took his frustration out on not just Dragunov, but Tony D'Angelo. So, and so the match is set for next week, and I think we all know how this is going to play out. I think Tony D'Angelo is going to win this match, but it's going to be because, shall we say, Florio, whoop that trick. Trick Williams. Yeah, Trick Williams is going to screw Carmelo Hayes, and it's going to set up Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams at Stand and Deliver in what I think is going to be a show stealer match, because this is going to be so damn personal. I mean, after everything that Carmelo Hayes did for Trick Williams, for him to stab him in the back like that, you know Trick's he's out for retribution. And it's going to happen at Stand and Deliver. And Tony D'Angelo will get the biggest opportunity of his life at Stand and Deliver at the NXT Championship. So, like you said, segment of the night when it comes to this. And as far as my overall thoughts on this show, I can only give this 5 to 5.5. I mean, you had some good matches, but as you said, Florio, way too many cutouts here. I mean, but then again, that's typical of NXT when it comes to this. So, yeah, not a good way to build it. I mean, I'm hoping that next week's Roadblock will be really good, but we'll have to wait and see on it. So, 5 to 5.5 for me. It's yours, Florio.
I'm actually going to be a little more generous on this book. I'm going to give it about 6, maybe 6.5. 6.5 for me. I'm going to be a little more generous. NXT made a surprise announcement that next week's show would be a special event, Roadblock, and that set the stage for the direction of the entire night. This was an event building forward. No matches stood out on their own, but they did set the stage for bigger bouts for the following week. The NXT Championship scene remains as hot as ever. Carmelo Hayes is in his element as the ultimate heel, and NXT is finally relying on Tony D'Angelo as a top guy to challenge him. The women of NXT delivered solid performances that aided the feeling that the division is as interesting as ever. However, no one besides Roxanne Perez is in Lyra Valkyria's stratosphere as far as true star power. No Quarter Catch Crew finally won the big one in a match that should have been better, but the booking was decidedly flat in making them look imposing. Hopefully the group's future stays bright. The Gold Brand has some big moments in store, and that is exciting to anticipate. However, this show did not carry out that excitement, just build forward. 6 to 6.5 is my rating. So not much more to say there. So with that, we move on to last night's edition of AEW Dynamite, and I'll set the table for that. Final episode before the Revolution pay-per-view this Sunday night. This also marks Sting's final Dynamite as an active competitor for All Elite Wrestling. The Icon is wrapping up a legendary career at Sunday's pay-per-view, so the company made sure to tout his last episode. And now let's take a look at everything that happened on last night's AEW Dynamite. AEW Dynamite was live last night from the Propst Arena at the Von Braun Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Started it off with an in-ring segment. We had Hangman Adam Page on crutches, and that brought out Swerve Strickland along with Prince Nana, and it also brought out the AEW World Heavyweight Champion Samoa Joe, and Hangman pulling a heel move here. We all thought, maybe there's a chance he might actually be missing this match, and it's going to be Joe and Swerve one-on-one. No, Swerve, bro. Hangman pulled a heel move, faked the injury, and took out Swerve with that crutch. The ruse was done well, but there were some signs it wasn't real. Either way, it was a solid opening segment and a good way to hype the match. Page was convincing on an emotional level, but some fans noted online that a doctor would have told him to use his crutch on the other side. And, very interesting to say the very least. It looks like we could be headed for a possible double turn down the line. Hangman Adam Page turning heel and Swerve Strickland turning babyface here. So nothing to worry about here. It's still going to be a three-way. It's still going to be Samoa Joe versus Swerve Strickland versus Hangman Adam Page. Three-way match for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship this Sunday night at Revolution. A show that we will preview, by the way, tomorrow night on a special Cerebral Smack Talk, and hope and pray that MF will be back with us for that. But anyways, let's move on to our first match of the evening. 6-man tag team match. AEW Continental Classic Champion Eddie Kingston, along with FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler, versus the Blackpool Combat Club, Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, and Claudio Castagnoli. Winners of the match in 21 minutes and 55 seconds. It was the Blackpool Combat Club, Bryan Danielson, putting Eddie Kingston to sleep to win the match. Hands down, the fight of the night here. 4 1/4, 4.5 stars. As anyone would expect, this was a high-energy match with a steady pace, lots of strikes, and some good brawling moments. This exceeded the average AEW trios bout in many ways. All 6 guys are renowned for different reasons, so it was no surprise that they all worked well together, especially since many of them had previous history as rivals. Eddie Kingston has feuded with every member of the BCC just on his own. Everyone worked their butts off to make sure the live crowd got a good show, despite all 6 men being booked for the pay-per-view. They did not take it easy, and Bryan Danielson won by making Eddie Kingston pass out. Eddie Kingston got the biggest individual pop, but it's hard to compete with how loud the crowd gets during the Wild Things song. Jon Moxley and Cash Wheeler headbutting each other was a good moment. Eddie Kingston trying to shield Dax Harwood from all 3 members of BCC when he was hurt was a great sequence. The triple sleeper hold spot was done really well. There was so much to like about this match. Easily the fight of the night. 4 1/4, teetering on 4.5 stars. Excellent opener. And I knew once this match was booked, I knew these 6 boys were going to steal the dang show. And you better call that Huntsville PD, because those 6 boys did indeed steal the dang show. And, me and Bullock, as the big fans of technical scientific wrestling that we are, this was right up our alley, and boy howdy, we enjoyed every damn bit of it. So 4 1/4, 4.5 stars. Michael Bullock, that was our kind of a match last night. What a match. 6-man tag, BCC defeating Eddie Kingston and FTR 21-55. How about that?
Yeah, now this is the kind of match that both you and I like. I mean, you couldn't start it off better matches-wise with a match like this. I mean, 4 1/4, 4.5. I'm with you on this one. I mean, when you have FTR, Eddie Kingston, and the Blackpool Combat Club, you know it's going to be something good, and that's what we got here. And yeah, Bryan Danielson putting Eddie Kingston to sleep, showing of course, the hatred that he has for him. And I mean, come on, Florio. I think this is the booking 101 method, because Eddie Kingston's going over. That means Eddie Kingston's going over on Sunday night.
We'll get more into it tomorrow night. Yes.
Yeah, like you said, we'll give our full preview of this match when we preview the Revolution pay-per-view tomorrow night. So, so yeah, there's really nothing more to say. 4 1/4, 4.5. So let's move on.
All right, Bullock. Then we had an in-ring segment. Tony Schiavone, and who did he introduce? The newest signee, one of the newest signees for All Elite Wrestling, Will Ospreay. And of course, it was also announced that Sunday at Revolution, Will Ospreay will go one-on-one with Konosuke Takeshita of the Don Callis family. So say what you want, but that's another potential show stealer right there, based on the body of work. And let me tell you, Ospreay was mega over last night. That crowd was popping big for him, and I believe that he's on his way to possibly becoming a big time babyface in AEW. The fans love him, so Will Ospreay came out to talk about eventually being done with other obligations, that being New Japan and being All Elite. Don Callis family eventually came out with Powerhouse Hobbs and Takeshita. Ospreay didn't seem too excited to see them and had a standoff with Takeshita, but it never turned into a fight. Then we had an open challenge match for the AEW International Championship. The champion, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, defending the title against representing the patriarchy, Nick Wayne. And where Nick Wayne goes, Mother Wayne, Luchasaurus, Killswitch, and of course, Michael Bullock's boy, the TNT champion, Christian Cage.
Yeah, right. Get the you-know-what out with that crap.
Exactly.
Somehow I knew you were going to go into Jesse Ventura mode with that. Yeah. You really think I'm going to love this piece of crap? No.
I was just having fun with you, Bullock. You know that. So, but anyways, good news here, Bullock. Winner of the match in 10 minutes and 25 seconds, and still the AEW International Champion, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. And Bullock, I know you're saying thank goodness thank goodness OC went over, but you can also give a huge thanks to Mr. Daniel Garcia for being the difference maker in this one.
Oh yeah, Daniel Garcia basically wasn't gonna let the patriarchy get away with this one, and of course there was no way you were gonna have Orange Cassidy lose the international championship before his title defense against Roderick Strong Sunday night. But anywho, I mean, this was I'm gonna give this about maybe three and a quarter, teetering on 3.5. I'm gonna say 3.25. I mean, this was a fun match here. I mean, but yeah, I mean, this was indeed the right outcome. I mean, but yeah, I mean, Daniel Garcia basically was telling him, "You ain't stealing the international championship, just like you stole the TNT title." So yeah, of course, Garcia basically sending a message to his opponent Christian Cage, and I, for one, am hoping and praying for you that Daniel Garcia win the title. And if he does, I'm going to say it right here, right now. I'm going to do the Daniel Garcia dance right in front of you guys.
Ho, ho, ho. Oh, boy. Appointment television when we do our review.
Hey, that thing's becoming so popular right now. Maybe I just might do it. But like I said, only if Daniel Garcia wins the TNT title, which I'm going to say right now, probably not going to happen because the patriarchy is going to have a say in this.
Unfortunately. But
even though it pains for me to have to say it. So 3.25 for me.
We'll elaborate a little bit more tomorrow night. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So, but you gave it 3.25. So that's exactly where I'm going here. It's within that 3 to 3.25 range. I agree. Tell you what, the next match saw Nick Wayne attempt to bring more gold to the patriarchy by challenging Orange Cassidy for the International Championship. The challenger was aggressive out of the gate and took OC down with a headlock takeover. Mother Wayne got the rest of the group thrown out, so her son only had himself to rely on. As soon as Orange Cassidy won, Roderick Strong attacked him out of nowhere. The Best Friends and the Undisputed Kingdom were also involved in the conclusion, but most of their involvement had no impact on the outcome. Solid match. And the patriarchy was ejected from ringside just before the break, so a good portion of this bout allowed Nick Wayne to stand on his own 2 feet for once. He did well without anyone outside the ring to draw attention. And Orange Cassidy is great at subtly selling injuries. That was 3 to 3.25 stars for that one. Then we had a women's matchup. Chris Statlander. She had Willow Nightingale and Stokely Hathaway in her corner, squaring off against Sky Blue. In Sky Blue's corner, of course, the TBS champion, Julia Hart. Winner of the match in 9 minutes and 40 seconds, it was Sky Blue. Sky Blue wins in 9:40. 3 stars. This was a surprisingly physical sprint of a match. It never felt like they slowed down unless they needed to sell a move for a moment. Stokely Hathaway ended up inadvertently distracting the referee long enough for Julia Hart to knock Chris Statlander out with the TBS championship belt, so Sky Blue could get the win. Both competitors looked good in this bout, but some of the shenanigans at ringside took it down a notch. Chris Statlander has a great kip up, and Stokely's face when he tried to hand Chris Statlander a chain was hilarious, but he tried to cheat to win, but unfortunately it didn't pan out. So solid 3 stars for this effort here. So not much more to say. Michael Bullock, Sky Blue defeating Chris Statlander 9 minutes and 40 seconds. Once again, just like in the last match, it was outside interference. This time, Julia Hart laying out Chris Statlander with her TBS championship belt.
Yeah, I guess if in Julia Hart's case, this was justified because of what happened, I think it was with Will Nightingale and Sky Blue. So Julia Hart feels like she was justified in doing what she said. But hey, with her new mean attitude and the way she is, especially after what she did to Mark Briscoe with that spike, who's gonna say what she did was illegal? Who's gonna say it to her? I'm certainly not gonna do it.
Me neither.
Unless I want to end up in crimson red just like Mark Briscoe did.
Ooh.
Yeah, so 3 stars, I agree with you on that, so there's really nothing more to say, so let's move on.
All right, Bullock, I will set you up for the next match. Lionheart, Chris Jericho. His original gimmick from like the early 90s in WCW. Lionheart, Chris Jericho, squaring off against Atlantis Jr. out of Mexico. He had Atlantis Sr. in his corner. Lionheart, Chris Jericho wins the match, 12 minutes and 10 seconds. Atlantis Sr. throwing in the towel, Bullock. How about that?
Boy, it's been a long time since we saw something like that where a match was stopped via someone throwing in the towel. So I'll give this about maybe another 3.25, 3.5 on this one. I mean, this was a solid match. I mean, yeah, Lionheart, Chris Jericho getting the victory here. So yeah, there's really nothing more for me to add on to it. It's yours for you.
Definitely. Chris Jericho brought back his Lionheart persona for a match against Atlantis Jr., who succeeded one of the veterans' mentors and partners, Atlantis Sr., who was at ringside. You could see Atlantis moving slower than usual in spots to compensate for Jericho no longer being a young luchador, but they had decent chemistry, so it wasn't a bad match. Jericho won via submission with the Lion Tamer when Atlantis Sr. threw in the towel for Atlantis Jr. They all posed together after the bout. Jericho trying to take off Junior's mask was a bit odd considering he asked for this match out of respect. The CMLL title belts looked good, and the Hurricanrana reversal at ringside did not go well. But nonetheless, 3.25, teetering on 3.5. I would say maybe second best fight of the night here. And then we ended up, of course, with the main event, which was a segment. We had a main event segment. It started with Matthew and Nicholas Jackson with the white baseball bats. Darby Allin got involved. He was wearing a mask. He was pretending to be a masked fan at ringside, but he revealed himself as Darby Allin. And then Matthew and Nicholas got the best of Darby. And then they were interrupted by the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. And by the way, a belated happy birthday shout out to Ric Flair, who just turned 75. Oh, by the way, he's now set. He just turned 75 years old. this past Sunday. Ric Flair, and he teased. It looked like, oh my goodness, is Ric Flair joining up with Matthew and Nicholas? No, he actually attacked the Young Bucks with the ball bat, and then you hear Sting's music play, but you notice he didn't come out of the tunnel there. He didn't come out on the entrance ramp. We're like, where's Sting? Where's Sting? And in a throwback which will take you back to the days of 1997 and 1998 during the Monday Night Wars in WCW, mainly on WCW Monday Nitro so many times. Sting came down from the rafters, a la the Crow Sting. Tony Schiavone, his voice cracked when he introduced Sting. I mean, what a moment. And then Sting attacking the Young Bucks, attacking Matthew and Nicholas with the bats. And wow. Very interesting segment, to say the very least. Darby Allin and Ric Flair both tried to attack the Young Bucks, but the Bucks used bats to get the advantage. When Sting finally showed up, he was lowered down from the rafters. It created a great moment to end the show. And, being lowered from the rafters was a cool visual after all these years. Either way, the live crowd loved it. The angle was a bit clunky in that Sting basically let his friends get their asses kicked before he finally made his entrance. But I get what they were going for. So, what a visual there. So, not much more to say. Michael Bullock, a quick thought. I mean, did that bring back memories a la 1997 and 1998 back on those WCW Monday Nitros when Crow Sting, came down from the rafters? What a moment.
Yeah, what a moment. I mean, it definitely brought back memories of Crow Sting from back in the late 90s of WCW coming down. I mean, what a throwback. I mean, with this being his final Dynamite, I mean, what a way to give us a nice little throwback to this, to that moment. And yeah, with them going over on the Young Bucks and again, Florio, I got a funny feeling Booking 101 could come in and I hate to say this, but what MF said could come true. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but and I've said this so many times, and I'm going to say it again. With Sting, with everything that he's done for professional wrestling in general, he deserves to go out on top as a winner. But I guess if you're going to take the titles off, the only way for him is to lose. But let's not forget another thing, Florio. Going back to WWE, because remember, Trish Stratus, she had her last match originally in her hometown of Toronto at Unforgiven against Lita. And we were all thinking, yeah, Lita's going to probably go over and send her out a loser, but they actually pulled the trigger and gave her the title in her quote-unquote last match back in 2006. So maybe there's a chance they do that, but we'll have to wait and see come Sunday night. So
exactly.
So great way to close out the show. And as far as my overall thoughts on this edition of AEW Dynamite, I'm going to give this, this was definitely a really good show. No doubt about it. I'm going to give this definitely better than NXT. I'm going to give this about maybe 8.5 on this. I mean, you had some solid promo segments, and of course that trios match, that 6-man tag was the fight of the night, hands down. I mean, yeah, there were some things that could have been better, but all in all, I'm not going to complain that much. So 8.5 for me. It's yours, Florio.
I'm leaning more towards 7.5 to 8 out of 10, but I'm just about there with you. Go home shows before a pay-per-view are tricky because you want to give the live crowd a good experience without risking any injuries to talent. Last night's show only had 4 matches, so a lot of time was filled with talking segments, including the final segment with Sting's final appearance as an active AEW wrestler. You know how it happened. Darby Allin and Ric Flair both tried to attack the Young Bucks, but the Bucks used the bats to get the advantage. And when Sting finally showed up, he was lower down from the Raptors. All of 97 and 98 Monday Nitro created a great moment and conjured up some great memories to end the show. The trios bout that kicked off the show was easily the best thing we saw all night. None of the matches were particularly bad, but that particular six-man stood out. And the opening segment with Hangman, Swerve, and Joe was also a good piece of business. So this was about a 7.5, teetering on 8 out of 10 for me. So definitely better than NXT. So with that will put the bow on this special Thursday night edition of Wednesday Night Madness. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in as always. We will be back with you tomorrow night, somewhere around the 10 to 10:30 threshold. Hopefully, good old MF Michael Fletcher will be back with us tomorrow night, as we are going to have a special Friday, another special Cerebral Smack Talk show. We will review Friday Night SmackDown, and we will also preview the AEW Revolution pay-per-view. And time permitting, we will also share our experiences from this past Sunday's RWA Renegade Rumble. And let me tell you, what a show it was. Let me tell you that right now, especially that Renegade Rumble. We're definitely going to have some things to say about that tomorrow night. No show Saturday because, it's only Collision. And but we'll wait and see where we go with that. We're not going to do a review on Sunday because, of course, the pay-per-views, go late. So I'm thinking maybe Monday night, maybe we'll do the review of Revolution and Monday Night Raw, and even though we do have a TNA Plus event to get into, but time permitting, I'll address that, and then hopefully next Wednesday night we'll be back in our Wednesday time slot, and hopefully MF will be with us on that for NXT and AEW Dynamite, the Dynamite fallout from Revolution. So get into that on Wednesday, and we'll go from there. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, hopefully on MF's channel, Praise Fan 95, around 10 or 10:30 or so. This is Anthony Florio sitting in for good old MF Michael Fletcher, alongside the Phenom Michael Bullock, and of course, in spirit, good old MF Michael Fletcher. Prayers up, MF. I know you. I hope you're. We wish you a speedy recovery and immediate healing, and we hope to have you back with us tomorrow night. And of course, in spirit, also in spirit, as always, the First Lady of Talking Wrestling TXN, the one and only Twisted Angel Didi Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up, Fortune Forest style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday, and until tomorrow night, for the Cerebral Smack Talk, this is Anthony Florio here, for Michael Bullock, and for all of us here. You know the routine, and of course, as we always say, beyond anything else, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye.